perhaps you fail to take into account my hidden assets.
Wait, yeah, we're gonna do the video with that. Hello.
Oh yeah.
My hidden assets.
Yeah, we'll just pick up right there.
It was such beautiful timing with the beginning of the explosion and then
Oh God.
that. It was so great.
We'll just pick up from there. Hello, everyone. It's time for episode 5 of Box Office Shuffle. Coming in off of an edit from Joey, which we'll talk about here in a minute. I'm Thomas, a.k.a. Mr. Warburg. That's Joe, a.k.a. Joe.
Hey.
And Chris, a.k.a. Gamma Caruchador.
Yo.
This week, we watched James Bond, The World Is Not Enough. It was from Joey's collection, because this is a podcast where we take our movie collections, put them in a shuffler, and then each episode, we're going through a movie in one of our collections, talking about it, what we liked, what we didn't, and whether or not we'd add it to our own collections if we don't already own it. And this week, obviously, was Joey's, as I said, and he decided to edit in some Mrs. Doubtfire clips for whatever reason.
We talked about it at the end of last episode, I
I
believe.
suppose yeah, it's true. It had been about a month because Chris has moved.
Yeah.
If you've watched prior episodes, you'll notice that Chris is in a different location.
I am.
He's in an altogether different region of the country now. He's back on God's time, in Central Time, best time.
It's really good.
So like I said, we watched James Bond, The World Is Not Enough. Before we get into that, have any of you guys added anything to your own collections? I've added a pre-order, but it won't be out for a while.
Is that the Galaxy Quest 4K?
It is. I
Yes!
absolutely will be adding that to my collection
go!
in December, and I'll let you guys know if it's a really good 4K transfer. Oh,
good.
I'm looking forward to it. And then Joey, you can get the old Blu-ray if you want.
Thank you. I'm gonna rip that because I think I only got the DVD version of it. So
Yeah, and now I'll have the digital version with the 4K.
yeah.
Nice.
And I'm trying to find a Blu-ray of Ready or Not. Joe, you remember going to see that movie, or did I go by myself for that one?
Ready or
It's
not?
where-
Who's in that one, Tom?
It's Samara Weaving. She's like getting married into this rich board game family, but then they have this like cursed game of hide and seek. And if
No,
they
that's one that
oh,
I have not
it's
seen.
it's a dark horror comedy in the vein of like a Tucker and Dale, though a little skewing more horror. And it's like a dark comedy kind of aspect to it with the ending. Oh my god, it's so good. Absolutely would recommend, because we're about to start spooky season here this time of year, because this is September 21st. Do you remember the 21st night of September? So I think that about wraps up for the intro. So let's get into James Bond, The World Is Not Enough. Or as I said, if the CW from like 10 years ago made a James Bond movie.
Yep.
So Joey, this is your film from your collection. So I suppose we'll start with your thoughts. When was the last time you watched this, if you had watched it at all?
I have watched it. Last time I watched it was probably broadcasted onto TV, so probably early 2000s. I'm going to guess probably somewhere time a frame where Spike TV was still a thing. Because once in a while they do like a week long of like James Bond films, and this is one of their rotations. But so this would probably be early 2000s. I'm guessing 2002, 2002. Had to be like 2010. God, this doesn't seem so long ago, but.
Well, that was 14 years ago.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, I think
Right,
2002, it's not that
like,
long ago.
okay.
In 14 years, I'm like, oh, I'm old.
Yep.
No, but that's probably the last time I genuinely saw it till recently.
Okay. Chris, how about you? When was the last time you experienced this film?
I never saw it from beginning to end. I again, like Joey, I've seen it on snippets of it on TV back in the day. But the most I remember from this film is from the N64 cartridge game. Like I remembered like that whole first bank thing. They do it differently in the game if I remember, but like I remembered that whole first chase scene and everything, and I was like, man, I feel like I'm in the game. And then after that, I was like, I don't really remember this.
No, there's a lot I didn't remember. I did watch this probably like Joey on TV at some point in the early 2000s. And I also, like Chris, played the video game. I had the PlayStation version, which I remembered right before we were sitting down to film. Like I was like, wait a minute, I own this. And Tomorrow Never Dies, which was the game before this. So That's probably the last, like, I experienced this movie playing it as a kid on the PlayStation, more specifically. I remember the mission with the car, like, controlling it being a real pain in the ass, but that could have been a long time. That was a long time ago. So like I said, this movie originally came out, I don't know if I said this actually on the show, November 19th, 1999. It was the last James Bond movie before turn of the century, and it was the third Pierce Brosnan film. The director was Michael Apted. I've never heard the last name.
Apted?
He was mostly known for his documentary work. He also would go on to direct Enough with Jennifer Lopez a few years later. That was like 2002-ish. Grossed $361 million worldwide, 361.8 specifically. At the time, the highest-grossing James Bond movie to date, though it would be preceded by Die Another Day, which was the fourth and final Pierce Brosnan film a few years later. Obviously, Pierce Brosnan is James Bond. And a few other notes on the cast. Desmond Llewellyn, this was the last time his Q would be on screen. It was his 17th and final movie because he would actually pass away after this movie came out. I believe it was a car crash. Yep. And they had that kind of just serendipitously, the training his replacement and the, always leave yourself an escape route kind of thing where he descends into the floor, which served as a fitting farewell for the character, even though they weren't really planning to retire him yet. But that's just kind of how it worked out. And then director notes. This is one I think would speak to Chris. Do you know who was on the short list for the director? Take a guess. It's one of your favorites.
One of my favorite directors?
At least from your favorite films.
Michael Bay.
Not quite, no.
I would doubt Peter Jackson.
You would be wrong to doubt because that was Peter Jackson.
Really?
Yeah, he was on the short list.
Wow.
Apparently, the producer, Barbara Bacoli, was a big fan of Hidden Figures. I think. Was that his? Whatever. No, Heavenly Figures, maybe? If I remember.
Yeah, Hidden Figures is the
different movie. That's the math lady movie.
Yes.
Yes. I think it was Heavenly Figures. But she didn't like his most recent film at the time, which was like The Frighteners. I got my note sheets here. Yeah, I got my notes. Yep. And so she didn't end up liking that, so she took him off the short list. Wow. Which, coincidentally, if he had done it, probably wouldn't have been able to do Lord of the Rings.
You know what? It worked out for all of us.
Yeah. Sometimes not doing a thing is the right thing, even if it's just by accident.
Mm-hmm.
So on the before we get into the plot beats or anything like that, was anything kind of stand out to you as like, oh, I forgot about this or I didn't know this when it comes to like the cast? Because I've got a few.
I got nothing on the cast. I got some weird facts though about it.
Okay.
What is it? M6 learned that, or MI6 actually learned that they're going to film by their headquarters. So they're trying to like, hey, you guys can't film here and stuff. But there's a person named Janet Anderson moved to overturn and allow the film crew to shoot on site. Quoting, after all Bond has done for the Britain, it'd be the least we could do for Bond, end quotes. So they're able to film on site. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Was that like a judge that overturned that or what?
I believe so. Okay. I don't know how their parliament works over there, but
all right.
I was like, damn, interesting.
So in this movie, the two Bond girls would be Sophia Marceau, I'm assuming is how you say the last name, plays Electra King, most previously known for playing Princess Isabella in Braveheart. Which I realized halfway through, I'm like, wait a minute, that's her from Braveheart. Yeah. And then obviously Denise Richards, rather infamously as Dr. Christmas Jones, which is just one hell of a Bond girl name.
Yep.
Like Electra King sounds like something out of a Marvel comic. Dr. Christmas Jones is definitely a Bond name. Yeah. Yeah. What a terrible name. Also, terrible casting with Denise Richards.
Horrible. I was gonna say I don't think they cast her for her acting chops.
No, definitely not.
Because Sophie Marceau did. I think she, like, acting wise, she did great.
Oh, she was great. Like great.
Denise Richards.
Yeah, great character.
I thought I was watching a Hallmark film when she was talking.
Yeah, it's just very weird. And I do wonder because there was a note on a couple of the reviews I followed or the sites I was reading that it wasn't originally supposed to be a nuclear scientist. She was supposed to be like an Interpol agent, also a French Interpol agent, and then they like rewrote the role because they already had a French actress in Sophia Marceau. So they're like, well, we need a different character to like, I guess, play to Western audiences better. So that's when they rewrote and then cast Denise Richards. And I wonder how far into the process they were, how late that was, but maybe that played a role. But to be fair, I kind of doubt it because she was a big name at the time.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, Sophia Marceau for me is one of the better pre-Daniel Craig Bond girl / villains. I think it's really well. She's got a great backstory. You know, she actually has like motives beyond, you know, James Bond, and has an actual story, and is also really well acted. I thought was a really good thing, and I forgot that Robert Carlyle was the villain in this movie. That was one of my other big ones. He plays Victor Zokas, the KGB agent with the bullet in his brain. Carlyle, I know more specifically from stuff like Stargate Universe. He was one of the leads in that. He was also, I think he played Rumpelstiltskin on that Once Upon a Time ABC show as like a villain character, and he's great in that show. And
He does look like a Rumpelstiltskin.
yeah, it absolutely perfect casting.
Oh, yeah.
And I completely forgot this was the first time I watched anything he was in. And his role, that's another one of my, I would have never figured that, but sometimes, you know, things come back around. Javier Bardem was actually offered that role. He had to turn it down. Dude, I didn't see why he turned it down. I guess it would be obviously another film role, but he would eventually come back to the Bond franchise and play oh my god, it's Skyfall, the villain. What is his name? Shit.
Oh god.
Great villain. Great role for Javier Bardem.
One of my favorite like villain entrance scenes with that
So
long
great.
one shot of him just walking towards Bond. Oh,
Yeah, so good. Like he absolutely killed in that movie.
Yes, he did.
So like, kind of another serendipitous of, hey, it turned out because Carlisle's character, he played it great. You know, that kind of guy on the edge, knowing he's gonna die, you know, and just wants to go out with one last big, you know, kind of fu to the world. Excellent stuff there. And I forgot Robbie Coltrane, the guy who would play Hagrid, was in not just GoldenEye, but also this movie, because I had not seen it since I was like at least maybe 12 years old. You know, I might have seen this movie before I saw any of the Harry Potter movies, but I don't remember it at all. So that was a fun bit of like, I didn't expect to see him in this movie. So that
What's the first Harry Potter?
it was only a couple
Was that
years later.
1999?
I thought it was 01. So it only would have been
What's the
2 years
first one?
later. Sorcerer's Stone.
Sorcerer's Stone.
Or Philosopher's Stone. Stupid Brits. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 01 though. Maybe 02?
Right. You're right. It was. When did this movie come out?
99.
This was November 19th or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, this came out like almost exactly 2 years later. So it was November 16th, 2001 for that one.
Yeah. So let me see. Anything else on the cast for me?
John Cleese. We always love a good John
the
Cleese.
introduction of him as the new Q, at least for one James Bond film, with Die Another Day, and then we would move on to a new Q when it comes to the Daniel Craig movies, which we'll get into the kind of larger picture James Bond conversation in a little bit. But overall, what were your takeaways from this movie? Did you like it? Did you not? You know, what stuck out as something that was like outlandish or really cool? Let's go Chris first here.
I don't need to see this again. It was good to see it once.
Good. Hey, that's it. Fair. Totally fair.
Yep.
I won't say that it was awful. It's just like it's cool. I've seen it. I don't need to see it again. I'd rather play the video game because I was cringing because it was so 90s, early 2000s, having a runaway or chase scene where he's on skis, and I'm just like, apparently whoever made this movie has played SSS Tricky or something. Like, that's too. When did Fast and the Furious come out? Because did
It would
they
also
look
be a
at
couple
this
years
movie?
later.
Yeah,
Years later, yeah.
they must have looked at this movie and been like, "We're gonna do all of that." But like that kind of action in this movie is so bad compared to like things like John Wick or anything like that today. Even like, I mean, you know what I thought during this movie? Gives me way more appreciation for a series that I already appreciate. I really appreciate Mission Impossible now because they make spies much better.
Not counting Mission Impossible 2. God, that movie sucks. Oh my god.
Yes, that movie is terrible. That movie is awful. I remember watching that one for the first time, say like 5 years ago, and I was like, how did they keep making Mission Impossibles after? It was so bad. But
They wouldn't have if it wasn't for Tom Cruise.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, I really liked Electra King's character. I really didn't like Denise Richards' character.
So bad.
So bad. It's like everything she said in that movie had to be ADR'd for some reason. Like it was.
Well, like ADR'd and told, give it no emotion.
Yeah. ADR it, but do it as if you're talking to somebody who, I don't know, but it was just so bad. Her portrayal. But yeah, it was an okay Bond film. Definitely not a top tier Bond film. I'd rather go back and watch GoldenEye if I'm watching a Brosnan film.
Oh, that's easily the best of his.
Easily
Get that Famke Janssen, scene Bond.
Oh, the lady that like kills people by smashing them. Ugh.
Yep, that's Famke. That's
Yep, Famke,
Jean
yeah.
Grey.
Ugh.
Jean Grey. But yeah. It is always a pleasure to watch Judi Dench, though.
I mean, yeah.
It is.
She's so good. They're like, hey, we're redoing
Yeah.
Bond. Let's just bring Judi Dench back.
Yeah, just bring her back.
Yeah.
Well, again. Well, I thought that was quite cool. And that's when they should have done the, hey, James Bond is a code name, not the real name. Like, that would have absolutely worked because you're keeping M. Just make a new James Bond in universe. And the old one retired. But they didn't, and I get why. Still would have been cool. So, Joey, what are your thoughts on this one?
It's all right for, I don't know, because like I want to go Chris, talk Chris, because the skiing scene, that's actually very common in the early James Bond series. There are so many skiing scenes and chase scenes.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is crazy. So I wonder if they feel like they had to have it. It just feel like it wasn't necessary, it seemed like.
And to give
they
it
could've done something
snowmobiles with fan
parachute
boats and
fans?
parachutes.
different. I was like, this is nuts. What did we? Well, it didn't make any
I was
sense.
watching
It's like
it.
they were mad libbings a James Bond like scene.
I was watching it and I was like, these guys suck. I could do this in Call of Duty way better than they can.
And then I also like to point out like the gross use of like SMGs that just no one knew how to fire. We're talking P90s held sideways a bunch of times, people jumping and shooting. It's bad. But it's not Pierce Brosnan's, I'd say, worst James Bond. I'll say Die Another Day, unfortunately.
Not a fan.
It's probably
Is that the one with the tidal wave and really bad CG, or is that?
Yes, that's the opening scene where
Okay.
it's just like really bad. I'm like, well, this seems to like lost its budget, but no. Yeah, back to The World's Not Enough. Overall, all right, James Bond movie. I'd like to go through all the Pierce Brosnans and rank them because I'm not for sure if this would be number 2 or number 3. But the car was all right. BMW is nothing like. It's not
Not an
like,
Aston Martin.
It's not an Aston Martin or a Lambo, which I think is
And there's a Jaguar in Die Another Day.
yeah, and that Jaguar is fucking great. Tool wise, kind of generic. Nothing really too exciting for like cool advanced tools in this one, except for the bubble suit. I thought it was kind of weird.
Yeah,
Like,
that was
how do you
definitely played
just-
for laughs.
How do you like specifically design that to be like, oh, we can be a bubble man for a bit? I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah.
How does it protect you from an avalanche?
Yeah, right.
And it
Yeah,
leaves you right at the top.
Perfect freaking thing balanced right.
Yeah, and then you puncture it, and then the snow's gonna get inside it.
Oh,
Oh but that's not how
perfect.
snow or gravity works, Warburg. Come on.
Weird
yeah.
as hell. But you gotta give it up for the bagpipe machine gun / flamethrower.
flamethrower.
Oh my
Tested
gosh.
inside the manor where they're working on other things. And intelligence meetings are happening.
Yes.
Fucking what?
Not
Are you
not even in a
insane?
safety room, just in the living room.
Nobody's wearing ear protection.
Everyone's deaf.
that mansion's burning down.
Yeah.
Fuck. That was so dumb. Like,
And
he's
it's weird
just
'cause-
walking into the test area.
Yes.
No, there's no, like, hey, live fire range sites or anything like that. The most unsafe place to work imaginable is MI6 in a fucking Scottish manner. Like, what? What are we doing?
He just hip fires this like SMG. I was like, what the fuck? James Bond is like, it looks like 10 yards away from the dummy. I'm like, he's probably getting hit. And
Yeah,
he's
Does
actually
the
doing
UK
that.
have OSHA? Because they really
No.
need to get over
Clearly
that.
they do.
Clearly they need it.
God, that was awful.
No, I do like the King twist in it though. That's the only thing that kind of ranks it a little bit higher for me.
Yeah, her
Electric King,
character
where she's
and the
kind of-
villain, like the outright villain
That was-
in Zokas,
Yeah,
excellent stuff.
I thought that was good, but it still can't be Goldeneye if I'm going to compare Pierce Brosnan's. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it.
All right, yeah, you guys hit most of mine, except I have my note here that just says helicopters with saw blades.
Yes.
Yeah.
That can cut through steel girders
And a
of
car.
buildings. Yeah.
Like, what are those for? Like, why
Trimming
would they be
trees.
there? Like, it's a
Right.
caviar facility.
It's the fact that they're there is the really, because they showed them earlier in the movie cutting down the
Yeah.
tops of trees
Yeah, for pipeline work.
for the
Yeah.
pipeline. But why are they on a
the ocean.
dock?
Like, that's the Caspian Sea. That's like,
Yeah.
what are they doing there? How'd they get there? Helicopters don't have that far of a range.
Yeah.
Especially if it's got to run a saw blade.
Yeah, like,
That
that's
thing's
heavy.
got no fuel.
That's
That's
heavy.
got no fucking fuel.
Like, where'd they come from? I don't understand it. And like how they were used, it's like, wouldn't you just, if you had the money to bring those there, why not just bring some attack helicopters and like 50 dudes?
You could just
Right.
bring like 100 dudes for how much that probably cost. Like, let's be honest.
I don't know what's worse, that or the steering the boat on the streets of London with rockets in the
That was kinda
beginning.
cool.
Oh, that
Yes.
was really. How did he make a 90-degree turn as a boat?
That makes no sense. That's not how anything would work with rockets. Like,
And
at all. They're not optimized for turning. They're optimized for straight line speed.
I also like that the boat had a dive button, and then I was like, oh, cool. There's gonna be like a canopy that comes over, and then he
No, he just
no, he
sinks.
just dives down and then comes back up, like perfect timing. And it's like, how are you not just staying down
You'd
there?
be sunk.
Yeah.
James Bond's just eating shit, water flowing in at a fast speed. You know what's going up his nose. He's coming out. He's drowned.
And when
Why
he
are you
went
wearing
up on,
goggles?
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, he drove up the back of the boat that the girl was driving and like hit the
Grab the line.
Oh, grab
the
the.
gun behind it.
Yeah.
That gun just exploded. I'm like, that's not how guns are made.
No.
They don't just explode like that. It's like he ran into a Lego.
And also,
Construction
go
of a
back
gun.
one more step. Why is the boat there? Like the lady, why is she even there? It's a remote controlled bomb that they know is going to be there and kill its target. Why is there a boat with a machine gun in the middle of the fucking, is it the Thames?
And why is it? Why does
is
the
it there?
machine gun have a laser pointer if it's going to be that inaccurate from range?
And that was a handheld machine gun too, wasn't it?
It was.
And then there's a mounted one.
There's a
And
mounted
she's
one.
Yeah.
got a fucking grenade launcher.
Yep.
Only 3 rounds in
That
it.
looks like a shotgun for some reason.
And where's the London police and all this? Just like,
They're
what
putting
the
They're
fuck
a
are
boot-
chasing
they?
Bond when he gets on the street.
They're putting a boot in the car. That's what they were doing.
That's right.
You can definitely tell, like in my lenses. Oh, this is pre 9/11.
Yeah,
Yes.
it really is.
Like this is pre any terrorist attacks going down in Europe
Yeah. It's also
in
the
a
most
long
gross...
time, at least.
And the fact that the boat, when he takes it out, he has to shoot out the side of a wall, and it's not even directly into water. Like, it's 3 stories up, and you have to jump it out of the wall. It's like, well, hopefully that's aimed towards water.
I'm just gonna assume.
I don't know what's
Yeah.
dumber, that or the helicopters with saw blades to try to kill Bond.
So
The getaway on.
I don't know what's dumber. Both are really dumb.
Oh, what is it called?
and then
She's
they
getting
try and-
away on the fucking. Oh God, what are they called? Hot air balloon.
Oh yeah, they're
Oh,
trying to
Get
get
away
yeah.
on
that way.
Yeah, that's what she's trying to steal that and get away with it. It's like what the.
Like, what were you thinking was gonna happen?
with the saw blades on the dock, they like cut the bridge, and then Hagrid and Denise Richards like back up and they fall down, and they're already getting engulfed by water, and then it cuts away, and then it cuts back to them just swimming away. I'm like, how did you open those doors? That's not physically possible. There's
Yeah.
water around you. The pressure makes it so you can't open the doors.
Is that how that works?
We don't got
No.
time for physics,
Ugh.
Chris. This is a James
I'm sorry.
Bond movie.
I'm sorry. I forgot about that.
Oh God, that's funny.
Ah, what a film! What a film!
I don't know what's more believable, this movie or Johnny English with
Ooh.
Rowan Atkinson. Because they're both pretty unbelievable, but I think
mean-
Rowan Atkinson's Johnny English is more believable.
Did he? I haven't seen those movies in many. I don't know if I ever actually watched them all the
Same.
way through. Did he ever seduce his own doctor during an exam? I don't know, because that happened in this
I don't
movie.
Here's the thing: I don't think
The
he
only
seduces
woman
anybody
who's
in those
not
movies.
objectively like the one, someone that James Bond is going to sleep with in this movie is Judi Dench. That's it.
And Moneypenny, because he never gets with them.
Yeah. But these movies don't even count her, so I don't.
Right. Right.
God, it's just. Well, I suppose I'm the lady that threw a knife at the guy in the very,
Her
very
name is
beginning
Ci-
at the bank. Just
her name-
cigar
her
smoking
credit?
lady, cigar lady. That's her
Yeah,
credit
That's
is
literally
cigar
her
lady.
name is Cigar Lady.
Is
Yeah.
is that the same one that did the shooting from the boat, or is that a different person?
I actually don't know. Is it?
Could it,
I don't know.
I think it's supposed to be the same person, right?
Hang on. Cast.
Because
It would make
to come
sense.
back, right? Weird. And also, okay, hold on. I got another bone to pick with it. When they blow up that thing that's going like 75 miles an hour in the pipe, they're both dead. James Bond and
Oh yeah.
what's her butt? They're both just dead in there. The flames would suck all the oxygen. It
Mhm.
would just be no. It's not.
It is the same lady.
Okay.
Maria Grazia Suchinata?
Chinota or something.
Yeah.
don't know.
I
Chinata?
nailed that.
Suchinata? I don't know. Haven't heard it, but that sounds right. Yeah.
One last thing for me. The opening credits, because like there's always that Bond intro credit style.
Mhm.
That you could tell that was a 90s creation, because nowadays if you saw something like that, you'd be like, that person just discovered After Effects. Like that was the level of how good those were. Like there were like you could tell like they found a cool filter and they're like, I need to use this filter somewhere. And then they found a bunch of other ones and they just all crammed it into the same sequence of that opening credits. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is painful to watch.
Yeah. Not a great one.
Mhm.
So, speaking of great ones, Joey, you mentioned wanting to maybe rank the Pierce Brosnan films. So,
Yeah.
do you have a preferred order?
GoldenEye.
Well, yeah, it's an easy one.
I'm forgetting. Is it not Die Another Day? The other Die one.
It would be
Never-
Tomorrow Never Dies,
Yeah,
I think it
Tomorrow
would
Never
go.
Dies.
which I also own the PlayStation of that one.
Probably Die Another Day. That one. No, not Die Another. Die Another Day is the last one. World's Not Enough, and then the other one you guys just said, Die.
Tomorrow
Oh,
Never
God.
Dies.
Tomorrow Never Dies. Sorry. And then Die Another Day. Die Another Day is not really that good. The only like redeeming factor is like Halle Berry in it. Like I'll be honest.
Yeah. Chris, do you have a preference? Have you seen them all?
I don't think I've seen all of them all the way through, but GoldenEye is good enough that I watch it every now and then.
Yeah. GoldenEye is legitimately a very, very good Bond film, if not great Bond film.
Yes.
Definitely started, like, Brosnan's era started off with a bang, went out with a whimper, and GoldenEye still holds up. It's fantastic. For me, I like Joey. I think Tomorrow Never Dies, The World Is Not Enough is a little interchangeable. They both have redeeming parts. I actually like the kind of more philosophical villain in Tomorrow Never Dies in terms of like the controlling the media and the narrative and like shaping the world through information. Like fits as a really, really good Bond villain, as an overarching kind of villain. And then yet this one's a little more just narrow. Like it's more personal, like with Sophia's character, how it ties in with her kidnapping and all that kind of coming together in full circle in the plot. So they're a little interchangeable in terms of like 2, 3. And then yet Die Another Day is just not a good Bond film, and definitely why they were like, hey, you're not getting a 5th. We're just gonna move on. We're gonna make a new Bond with Daniel Craig. So overall, though, do you guys have a favorite Bond, like a James Bond? Is it Brosnan? Is it you go old school? You a Daniel Craig fan? Do you have a preference?
I think I'm a Sean Connery guy because I grew up probably watching those the most.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got a preference, Chris?
I think character-wise, like with character arcs, I haven't seen No Time to Die. It's been a while since I've seen Spectre. But I love how they kind of modernized Daniel Craig's a little bit more to make it more of a psychological on his end kind of series for him. And like they clearly played, like each film played into each other. It was a anthology of a singular story going all the way through. Whereas I feel like with Pierce Brosnan and all the old ones, they were more episodic and not really necessarily all connected together every single time. There were a few, but definitely Craig, and then probably Connery after that, because I do like some of the old. Oh,
That would probably be my go-to. Other than if we were talking singular Bonds, I'd probably go GoldenEye Brosnan. But Daniel Craig's Casino Royale might be my favorite Bond film because it absolutely kicks ass.
Yeah, and
So
it's
good.
between Casino Royale and Skyfall for me.
Yeah, and then
Both of them are fantastic.
Like Craig's, I think has 2 movies that are nowhere near as good, especially Quantum of Solace. Though as a follow-up to Casino Royale, it's not awful if you watch them back to back.
Yes.
And it definitely suffers from the fact that they did not. It was an issue with rights in terms of Spectre. So they were trying to create a new umbrella kind of villain, and it didn't work as well. And then they would eventually be able to do Spectre later. Spectre's not as good as Skyfall or No Time to Die, but those 3, the first, the third, the fifth, holy shit, they are so much fun and they are so good. Some of the action set pieces are right up there with the Mission Impossible movies. Like you can tell Mission Impossible pushed them to make the James Bond movies, like the action scenes, they're not absurdist over the top. They're over the top, but yet like they absolutely like are visceral and like heavy, if that makes sense. There's no, hey, we're gonna drive a boat on the streets of London between the canal. Like, nothing like that. But we are gonna have Daniel Craig like in a construction site just fucking running through like drywall to go after a dude. God
The beginning
damn.
of Casino Royale is so good.
God.
Even like the end of Skyfall
Yeah, where it's basically
when they
Home
start
Alone.
when they start home aloneing the house in the woods or whatever.
So good.
So good.
Just excellent stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think I'd have to go Craig and then the Craig era as my favorite Bond era, mostly because that's just what I watched the most.
Yep.
But I have seen a number of them. Like I own a few others on Blu-ray, mostly just because my parents bought them on a cheap sale from time to time. But Always had a soft spot for Moonraker just because of the gun, the samurai gun, that laser gun. Got the cool
Oh,
gun.
that was one of my favorite ones to use in
Nightfire.
in GoldenEye on the.
And Nightfire has it too.
Oh, and
my
Nightfire,
God,
yeah,
it
yeah.
absolutely rips. Ah, what a great game that was. All right, any other closing thoughts on James Bond, The World Is Not Enough, before we get into the question of, would you add it to yours? No?
I've got nothing to really add.
I'm going to take that as a no.
Yeah, no.
So, Joey, you have this in your physical collection. If
Yes.
you didn't, would this be a movie you would add?
Oh gosh. Because I'd want to complete the collection, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Not because I enjoy watching it, but because it's nice to have like
The full set.
every era kind of James Bond kind of set.
Yep. I'm in the same spot with some of the MCU movies where I'm like, I don't know if I'd buy this, but if it's on sale and to complete the set, might as well.
Yeah.
Chris, what about you?
Yeah, no, not
Not something you want to add?
something I'd add.
You
Again,
just stick with
like I said
GoldenEye?
earlier. Oh yeah, I would buy GoldenEye, and that would be the only Brosnan one that I have in my repertoire. But yeah, I'm glad I've seen it once. Don't need to see it again.
You saw the best version too, by the way.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
we
the,
saw
the,
Joey's
the Doubtfire
The
cut.
Joey cut.
The
Joey
Doubtfire cut. Yeah. I liked how the title of it as we were watching it was the best. The best. The world is not enough.
Oh, also, they say the line, the world is
Oh
not
my
enough.
god! I
Oh,
did
yeah.
that. I was
They
like,
say the line!
come on, really?
Hmm.
All right. So, I suppose it's time to pick our next film. This might only be like a 25-minute episode. All right, let's go to the wheelspin page. All right, here we are. So my sequence is up next for episode 6. Let's see what we got. All right, it's almost
please.
done. Indiana Jones.
Yes.
Oh, so what are we gonna do for that? Are we gonna just do?
We are going to start with what chronologically came out first.
Crystal Skull.
Fuck off. We'll do Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes, and we have to put chronological because Temple of Doom is technically a prequel.
Yes, it came out
So
after.
yes. Oh, that's so hype. I love Raiders.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. Writing it down on the notebook, and we'll get into our when we're going to record it later.
We'll have to see if we can force Liz to watch this and not fall asleep this time.
Oh wait, she's done that?
Apparently, she's tried watching Indiana Jones and
you fell asleep
like,
during
the first
Raiders
time
of the
or
Lost Ark?
I don't know. I don't know if it was
how that's
Raiders. I don't
physically
know if it was
possible.
a different one.
I mean,
My favorite's Last Crusade.
Oh, dude,
but
Last Crusade
Raiders of the Lost Ark is
absolutely-
very close second.
Last Crusade rules. It's so good.
It's so good.
God,
I
Sean
simply
Connery
remembered
showing
my
up
Charlemagne.
when he slaps him. That's blasphemy. So good. Oh, God. What a great film. What a great
She
series.
talks
I'm
in her
looking
sleep.
very much looking forward to talking Indiana Jones for episode
Oh,
6.
heck yeah.
So if you guys like this kind of podcast where we just go through our physical collections and talk about the movies we love or don't love in the case of James Bond, The World's Not Enough, hit the subscribe, the like, share, help the algorithm out, leave a review, 5 stars. Otherwise, doesn't really matter to me. I'm not going to beg you for a 5-star, but help us, grow if we can. It'd be really cool to see as we get going forward into this year. We'll have to touch base on what we're going to do for spooky season. I'm going to probably talk to Fusion, Patrick, our friend who you'll be seeing from time to time on this show. He's got a lot of horror films in his collection and has the digital versions as well. So he might be popping on for a Halloween shuffle episode sometime in October. And might also see if our friend Jackie wants to pop in because she likewise has a lot of horror movies as well that we could watch. So that's going to do it for us here for episode 5. You'll see us in about 2 weeks and change, depending on schedules. It's harvest season and football season for me. So we'll see what the fall brings out here on the farm. But stay tuned in about 2 weeks for Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I thought Christmas only comes once a year.
Also, yes, we're absolutely going to end on the Always Wanted Christmas in Turkey.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
No. I didn't
Like-
send that one. I sent the Christmas Comes Twice or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll just
Yeah.
play
And it
that out.
fades. Yeah.
Goodbye.
What a stud.
What? God, I can't believe that's what the movie ended on.
Dude, and it's
God.
untrue of those fucking jokes. What the
Back to
fuck?
back. Like you could have done the
So-
first
Yeah.
one, fade to black. Then they had
Yeah.
to make this the infrared sex joke, and then
Oh,
another sex
God.
joke.
That was already done in one of the
Oh,
Sean
man.
Connery ones. You didn't have to do it again.
This movie, man. What the hell?
It's like trying to just be like the old James Bond. I don't know.
It was weird.
Yeah, that's a good.
I guess
Yeah.
something we didn't talk about, but like Bond and Dr. Christmas Jones, they had no chemistry throughout the entire
Oh.
thing, and then they're just smacking little
Fucking.
titties together.
That's the power of James Bond, man.
Oh man,
Save a girl from a nuclear meltdown.
oh,
That's
No,
what
she said
happens.
him.
the power of boner.
Oh, I guess no.
She watched the guy get impaled with a plutonium rod. I mean, if that doesn't do it for you.
Yeah,
Oh
right?
man, that got her thinking.
Yeah.
What about
think-
a rod impaling me?
exactly.
All right, that's all staying
Oh,
in.
boy.
Oh, I stopped recording, damn.
Oh, I kept
Oh,
going.
I didn't. I didn't.
Oh,
I
we're
stopped
good. I got
recording.
it.